Hello friends, about 70% of the friends who watch my videos are not subscribed, and I would be very happy if you did. Also, don't forget to press the like button and leave your comments. Your interaction makes the content reach everyone and contributes to the growth of the channel. Thank you all. From which country or city do you follow the channel? Paul stepped outside and took a deep breath of fresh air. The spring sun stayed hidden behind thick clouds. Rain fell soft over Denver for 3 days now. He got off work early today. He did not hurry to head home. Spring had begun, but the streets felt cold and gray like winter. Paul enjoyed seeing his wife less these days. He loved her so much. He tried hard to make her happy. Things only got worse lately. Their troubles started 3 years back. That was when Paul and Sarah got married. They were young and eager for a baby. They worked hard at it, but nothing happened. They went to doctors for tests. The news hit them hard. Sarah could not have kids. A buddy suggested a great IVF clinic in Boulder. The buddy said money could solve it. They gave it 5 shots over 2 years with that clinic. No baby ever grew. The doctors tried everything possible. Each miss made Sarah pull away more. She shut Paul out in her heart. At first, Paul kept her spirits up. He stayed tough for her. Soon, he felt down too. Their home turned dark and quiet. They spoke less often. They drifted far apart. Paul still hoped to keep their family whole. He believed deep inside it could work. Sarah lost hope and stopped trying. Paul strolled around the city. The rain kept dripping light and steady. He glanced at his watch sometimes. He figured he should head home soon. His job as a software engineer never held him late. He always left right on time. Lately, he wished he could linger longer. He did not want to fake staying at work. Sarah would spot the lie fast. She would fret even more. He could not let that get worse. Walking home, he recalled a chat with a coworker. Nancy worked in HR. She was a sweet woman around 45 years old. She asked when they would have a child. She meant no harm by it. People just ask that out of habit. They run out of better topics. Paul kept his life private at work. This time, he spilled it all out. He shared every tough bit. She listened close and said he must not quit. She knew folks who waited 7 years. Some waited 10 years even. They were happy with kids now. He asked how to keep going for 10 years. He asked about the cash. One round cost $15,000. She told him to have faith. She asked if he trusted in God. He mumbled yes, but it was not true. He skipped that subject quick. She smiled warm and said it would turn out fine. She meant it for him and Sarah both. Nancy said her friend felt terrible about it. She never stopped trying though. She tested lots of ways. She went for IVF treatments. She visited church to pray. She lit candles for hope. Someone told her about an old woman far off. They called her a healer. They said she had a gift from God. Her friend Lydia grabbed her husband. They drove out to a tiny town deep in the country. Paul could not recall its name. It might start with M or P. He was not certain. The old lady spoke soft words to Lydia. She handed her a strong drink she brewed herself. She said they must try for a baby that night. Lydia got pregnant the very first time. It shocked them all. They chose to stay in that small town. They run a farm there now. They have a strong, healthy kid too. Nancy said maybe Paul and Sarah should visit her. Paul wondered if they could pull it off. He knew Sarah would hate the idea. She did not trust things like that. She found them foolish. Paul was unsure himself. He knew belief could do strange things. He decided to bring it up with her. He would try tonight, no matter how tricky. He stepped into their building on Colfax Avenue. The front door stood unlocked. Sarah always kept it that way for him. Once, he waited outside 20 minutes. He got upset and scared. She was showering then. She forgot the key sat in the lock. He rang her phone nonstop. Now he smiled when he heard the lock turn. Sarah kept the door open since that mix-up. Changing the lock would be simpler. The old one came with the place. Paul never got around to swapping it out. He walked in and smelled no dinner. He guessed Sarah was down again. When she felt low, it happened more these days. She would not chat. She would not cook either. He hung up his damp coat and kicked off his shoes. He headed to the bedroom. Sarah lay wrapped tight in a blanket. He greeted her soft. He wanted to check her mood. He asked if she was all right. He asked how her day went. He hated repeating those questions. He saw she had cried again. Her eyes looked red as usual. She said it was the same old thing. She handled some orders. She took a short nap. He nodded and said he got it. He felt lost when she acted this way. Her gloom spread to him. He felt heavy and dim too. He had no good plan. He stepped close and kissed her gentle. He promised it would be okay. He called her his love. He said they would pull through. Then he walked out. He flipped on the kitchen TV. He set water to boil in a pot. He grabbed frozen dumplings from the fridge. He enjoyed them fine enough. He grew tired of them every evening. He thought this had to stop. He vowed to speak with her tonight. After 30 minutes, he returned. He called her name. He said they should discuss something. Sarah set her phone aside. She stared at him silent. Paul said he wanted to talk about them. He said they faced a big issue. He told her she hid under blankets. He said that did not solve anything. She whispered it worked for her. He said she was not helping if she wanted their family to split. He wished he kept that quiet. She asked if she caused it all. He said no quick. He did not mean it that way. He offered they try something different. She said no to a therapist. She told him before they just take cash and hear you out. He said that was not it. He learned of a woman who might help. He paused to find good words. He said she was not a doctor or therapist. Sarah asked if she was a witch. She sounded tense. He said she might be. He shared what Nancy told him. Her friend could not have a baby either. She went to this woman in a distant town with her husband. That night they made a child. Now they lived happy with their kid. He asked what they had to lose. He said they tried all else. She refused a surrogate. She ruled out adopting too. He accepted her choices. He asked what risk this held. He would take some unpaid days off. They could go check it out. He said if it was nonsense, they would still get a break. She asked about their car payment. He said they could handle bills. Other stuff did not count. He felt it was worth a shot. It was only a quick trip. Sarah stayed quiet. She thought it over. Paul said it was her call. He turned to leave the room. Sarah spoke up sudden. She said she did not trust this nonsense. She knew he knew her stance. She thought a trip could be nice anyway. He said he felt the same doubt. He wanted to believe though. Next day he asked for leave from work. He gave no reasons why. He passed his duties to his assistant. He stayed jittery all day long. At lunch, he asked Nancy for the town's name. He asked about the healer's info too. Nancy praised his choice to go. She rang her friend to confirm details. She wrote the address on a scrap. She wished him good luck. She smiled wide and said it would work out. She told him faith was key. Early next morning, Paul and Sarah packed 2 bags. They loaded them in the car trunk. They set off for Hollow Creek in Colorado. The GPS showed 5 hours ahead. Sarah said it was way out there. Paul noticed her spirits lift a bit. He said time would pass quick. He grinned and said they could finish their crime podcast. The paved road stopped 50 miles from town. They hit a dirt path named Route 87. They drove slow on it. It stretched the trip by an hour. They curved through backroads plenty. Finally, they spotted a beat-up sign for Hollow Creek. Sarah chuckled and said it felt like a horror film. She glanced at Paul. He said it was a plain town. He told her not to imagine too much. By 1 in the afternoon, they saw first houses. They were old wood shacks. No folks walked outside. The weather stayed decent enough. They drove on narrow lanes a while. Then they reached the right spot. The house stood out some. It had yellow paint with green trim. The colors had faded over time. It added a touch to the dull town. Paul parked by the roadside. He checked he would not block anyone. He saw no cars nearby though. He pictured folks peeking from behind curtains. He thought that made sense. Small towns far off always watched strangers close. A place called Hollow Creek would do it more. Paul stepped out and stretched his legs. His back ached stiff. He eyed the yellow and green house. He caught a shadow in a window. It moved too fast to tell who. He hoped they hit the right place. He mumbled it low. He climbed the porch steps. They squeaked loud under him. He did not knock yet. The door flew open quick. An old woman faced him. She looked 80 years or older. Her gray hair hung thin. Her face showed deep wrinkles. She asked what he wanted. She asked if he got lost. Her voice scratched rough. She peeked at him, then the car. Paul said they likely came for her. He felt odd inside. He wished he mixed up the address. He said they heard of a healer here. He said she could aid them. She asked why he held back saying it. Her look changed fast. She grinned wide. She showed yellow teeth. She asked what troubled them both. Paul began to speak. He said they could not have a child. The old woman broke in sharp. She said the girl could not bear kids. She nodded like she saw it clear. She waved them to come after her. She turned and shuffled deep into the house. Paul went to the car. He told Sarah to join him. He said their healer was an old granny. He pictured her younger before. Sarah said she already judged her. The house smelled old and sour. Paul recalled his grandpa's home as a boy. That smell felt cozy then. This one turned his stomach bad. It held no warm past. Her voice called from a half-open door. She said to step inside. She said to ditch shoes at the entry. They followed her words. They ducked low through the small frame. The sour smell grew thick inside. She said her name was Clara May. She said folks called her Granny Clara. Paul and Sarah gave their names back. She asked if they felt hungry from the drive. She cooked chicken noodle soup. She said it was like she sensed their arrival. She said to eat before other stuff. She clattered dishes around. They did not refuse her. Paul felt it might seem rude. He asked why the town felt so dead. He said they met no one coming in. He gripped a spoon. She said people stayed scarce. She said locals hid when city types showed up. The soup hit the spot. Paul finished his quick. Sarah ate slow. Granny Clara watched them close. She seemed to weigh them up. Then she rose slow and limped to the hall. Paul said the noodles tasted great. He told Sarah she ought to learn them. She smirked and said okay. She glanced at the door. She whispered where the old lady went. Paul had no time to reply. Granny Clara shuffled back in slow. She carried a jar of dark liquid. She banged kitchen stuff around. Paul gathered the empty bowls. He took them to the sink. He offered to wash them up. She waved him off firm. She said she would handle it alone. 5 minutes went by. She set a big mug on the table. It held brown murky stuff. She pointed at it firm. She said to drink every drop. She said they must finish it all. Paul asked who had to drink. He stared at the odd mix. She said both of them. She said half for each one. She said it would taste awful. She told them not to spit any out. They had to take it all down. Sarah asked what it was. She asked if it was safe at all. Granny Clara eyed Paul. She said he went first. She skipped Sarah's question. Paul said they had not shared their trouble yet. She said she did not need that. She spotted it when Sarah stepped in. She knew it was about no kids. She said it tied them both. She said she fixed lots like them. The drink smelled as bad as it looked. Paul sipped it once. He nearly gagged it back. He caught her stern gaze. He forced it down hard. He thought Sarah would not touch it. When he hit half, Granny grabbed the mug. She said now came the women's part. Paul felt lost. He said he could not ditch Sarah. Granny Clara said she did not want that. She asked why they hauled Sarah there then. She asked if they came to heal or bicker. She said it was private lady matters. She said he should not watch it. She asked if he got it. She sounded firm. Paul glanced at Sarah. She gave a tiny nod. He hated leaving. He could not believe she stayed with the old lady alone. Granny said to return in 2 hours. She said not a minute less. Paul thought he would roam the town. He hoped to spot someone out there. He did not expect it so soon. He saw an old man near his car. The man stared at it hard. He did not see Paul walk up. Paul said hi there. The man stayed mute. Paul said it louder. No reply came. He got real close. The man's head jerked fast. Paul flinched back. The man's skin looked ghostly white. It seemed he never saw daylight. His eyes shone cloudy. A weird film covered them. Paul figured it came from hiding indoors too long. The man said nothing still. Paul prayed he left the car alone. He kept walking. The town felt tiny. He crossed it up and down quick. Took less than 30 minutes flat. Paul met 2 more old folks as he walked. They matched the first guy's silence. They gave him odd looks. He felt their stares heavy on him. He stayed back from them. He moved on steady. On his second loop, he noticed the quiet hit hard. Towns like this had sounds usually. Chickens clucked or dogs barked or cows mooed. Nothing stirred here at all. He thought no store existed either. Then he recalled Nancy's pal Lydia. She settled here with her man and child. Nancy said they kept a farm too. Paul wondered where Lydia lived now. He considered phoning Nancy to dig deeper. Something else stole his focus. He saw a figure 100 yards off. Even far away, this one stood out different. He did not blend with the rest. The guy noticed Paul too. He waved a hand high. Paul stepped closer to him. He asked if the guy lived there. He stuck out his hand to greet. The guy looked young. He might be younger than Paul even. Something felt strange about him. He said hello back. He did not take Paul's hand. He smiled instead. He said he lived there sure. He thought only old-timers stayed around. He said they were the youngest ones. He added it was just for now. He sounded friendly. He said his name was Kyle. Paul said he was Paul. Paul felt lighter inside. Finding a normal young guy cheered him. The spooky old folks had worn him down. Kyle asked what Paul was up to there. He said visitors came rare these days. Paul said he came for treatment, sort of. He brought his wife along. They aimed to meet the local healer. Kyle asked if he meant Granny Clara. He said she was wonderful. He said she would help them, no doubt. He said he and others lived there long. They moved in and loved it. Paul pointed out Kyle said we a lot. He asked who he meant by that. Kyle said he did not mean only himself. He meant others with him. He asked if Paul and his wife planned to stay. Paul asked what stay meant. He laughed and said no chance. He said no offense to Kyle though. He asked why Kyle moved there. Kyle said Granny Clara saved them. He said that kept them there. He said they had their reasons for it. He said everyone there had reasons too. He said folks always ended up staying. Paul said that was not his plan. Kyle said it was Paul's pick. 3 hours passed. Paul stood at Granny's door again. He feared making noise going in. He worried about asking dumb things. He did not know how to act. He breathed deep and nudged the door. Creaked wide. A sharp burnt smell stung his nose. The house sat so still it rang in his ears. Granny rested in a corner. Her hands lay folded. She heard him enter. She lifted her head. She pressed a finger to her lips. She whispered to hush. Granny rose up slow. She waved him to the hall with her. Paul asked if it took. He sounded eager. The door shut firm behind him. He asked what they would do next. He asked where it would happen. He asked if they'd use the car. She said no to that. She said she had a spare room. She said it locked good. She said they could sleep there tonight. She said morning would show what came next. He asked if they could drive home instead. She said not a chance. She said the baby had to start by 1 in the morning. She said else it all went to waste. She meant the drink and her efforts with Sarah. She said she flushed their bad parts out. She asked if he puked yet. He said no. He asked if he would. She said yes for sure. She said it'd hit soon. She told him to stay by the bathroom. 15 minutes later, it came true. He felt sick fast. He dashed to the outhouse just in time. It was a hole in wood planks. He held his breath there. He avoided looking down. It made him sicker. For an hour, he went every 10 minutes. He felt his insides pour out. His gut twisted sharp like blades. Between trips, he cursed Granny hard. He blamed her for this pain. When it eased off, he cleaned his face. He used water from a barrel outside. Paul figured the water seemed clean enough. He trudged back to the house. Sarah was up now. She sat with Granny Clara. While Granny spoke mostly, Sarah nodded along. She scribbled on a small paper. She glanced at Paul a moment. She flashed a faint smile. Then she turned back to Granny. Paul went to their room alone. It had a bare window with no curtains. A tiny bed sat with an old blanket. A table held a cold candle. A chair stood beside it. Nothing else filled the space. He thought the lock worked at least. He sat to wait for Sarah. She came in 10 minutes later. Paul felt relieved. He asked what happened. He asked if Granny said they must act tonight. He said by 1 in the morning. He chuckled light. Sarah said it was no joke. She said Granny held real power. She said it healed them. She said they had to trust her. Paul said fine. He said they would give it a shot. He said he dragged her here himself. He asked what else Granny told her. Sarah said she must stay there while pregnant. Paul asked what that meant. He nearly shouted it. She said it kept the baby healthy. She said it would fail otherwise. He said that sounded wild. He asked about 9 months there. He asked about work and him. She said he could leave and work. She said her phone handled her job. She said to fetch her laptop later. She said weekends he could visit. She said Granny agreed to it. Paul said living with her too. He said she could choose her way. He said if it worked tonight, he stayed. He asked if she heard him. Paul hardly knew her now. He barely knew himself either. He said they could hash it out tomorrow. He said tonight needed a new vibe. Before bed, he hit the outhouse. He found a sink out there. He showered off quick. He smoked a cigarette after. He slipped back inside. Turned chilly outside, he noticed. He wanted a towel bad. Granny Clara was nowhere around. He thought her absence helped. He locked the door tight just in case. He climbed into bed wet. Sarah felt warm there. She squealed and giggled. They made love deep. They blocked out all else. Sarah lit a candle as Granny said. It danced on the wall soft. It lit a tiny corner. It showed their bare bodies. The smoke smelled odd but sweet. Filled the room slow. They missed a hunched shape at the window. It watched them close. Paul woke later to Sarah's cry. She looked terrified at him. Granny Clara stood by the bed. Darkness hid most of her. Her hands hovered over Sarah's belly. She said not to panic. She said she just checked. She said it worked fine. She slipped out quiet. Sleep left Paul fast. Sarah sat up shaky. She tried to grasp it. Paul's heart raced loud. He said he locked the door. He whispered low. He said Granny had a key likely. Sarah asked how to sleep now. She mumbled it faint. Paul told Sarah to rest. He said he would keep watch. He said he wanted some thrill. He said he would guard her safe. She chuckled and said she could not sleep either. Soon she snored loud. Paul perked his ears up. He listened for floor creaks. He caught no sound at all. He unplugged his phone. He opened a book app. He read a tale he meant to end. The screen glowed dim. He sat calm for 30 minutes. Then a strange noise hit him. He dropped the phone down. He tuned in close. It was no trick. He rose slow to not wake Sarah. He tiptoed to the door. He pressed his ear on wood. He heard a low groan. Then he caught grumbled words. It was Granny's voice, sure. He did not want to snoop first. His mind pushed him hard. He said it was for Sarah's sake. He clicked the lock soft. He eased out careful. The noise did not come from the kitchen. It was not in the house even. He saw the front door ajar. Granny stood outside or near the hall. He crept closer still. He heard her say yes to someone. She called them master. She said she agreed full. She said they would have a fine kid. She said she knew it was the master's strength. She said she only wanted the child. She said she waited so long. She promised it firm. Paul's skin crawled cold. He thought she lost her mind. He let her near Sarah. He risked himself too. Paul recalled the outhouse sharp. He thought she tricked Sarah to stay 9 months. He saw it plain now. She was a crazy old woman. She played at healing them. He said they must go. He said it had to be right then. He said she could harm them worse. He did not know her real thoughts. He burst into the room fast. He flipped the light on. It blazed bright and stung his eyes. Sarah stirred awake. She seemed puzzled. She asked if morning came. She said she felt sleepless still. Paul said to pack up quick. He said they were bolting now. She asked what broke wrong. She said it worked out. He said it did not at all. He said the old lady was unhinged. He said he heard her talk alone. Sarah said old folks do that often. She tried to say more. Paul cut in loud. He said she spoke to a master. He said she offered them the baby. He said she was mad and risky. He said they had to leave fast. She said Granny told the truth. She said she felt it inside. She said he heard wrong. He asked what Granny might do. He said she could poison them easy. He said he puked an hour last night. He thought he might die then. He said they were gone. He told her to dress quick. Sarah fought, leaving still. Paul did not grasp why. He thought Granny warped her mind. He guessed hypnosis maybe. He snatched their gear. He stuffed it in a bag. He tugged Sarah out. She pulled back crying. He did not get her tears. Paul thought it had to be hypnosis. He heard a wild scream behind. Granny Clara rushed out fast. She limped hard after them. She said he would kill them both. She asked if he got it. She said Sarah must stay there. She said the baby needed that spot. Paul shut her out. He tried not to hear her pleas. He messed up bringing Sarah here. He would not buy it again. He planned to rip Nancy later too. Granny yelled to leave them put. She said that was their home. She said he would curse their souls. She shouted and clutched his shirt. He shoved her back firm. It bought him time. He dug out the car keys. He popped the doors open. All felt like a haze. Granny wailed mad words. Sarah sobbed loud. His head throbbed sudden. He pushed Sarah inside. He tossed bags in back. He leapt in swift. He jammed the key in. He thought of horror films. Cars never start in those. His roared alive. He slammed the gas down. The car tore off quick. He peeked in the side mirror. Granny flailed arms and hollered more. They drove in silence. Sarah sat hurt. She stared out the window. Paul gripped the wheel tight. County Road 12 wound rough. Dust flew behind with the last houses. He thought danger passed. Then Sarah cried out sharp. She clutched her belly hard. It hit right as they crossed a sign. It read Hollow Creek with a slash through. Paul asked what was wrong. His voice shook scared. He pulled off by the road. Sarah said she did not know. She said it hurt deep inside. She said it cut like knives. She screamed louder still. Paul swore loud twice. He said he would grab the kit. He leapt out fast. He hit the trunk quick. He yanked the plastic box open. He rifled through it hasty. He found pills inside. He dove back in the car. He flicked the inner light on. Then he saw the truth. Blood soaked her seat red. Stained her jeans too. Sarah glimpsed the blood. She passed out cold. Paul yelled her name 3 times. He begged her to wake. He had no clue what to do. He checked her wrist pulse. It beat faint there. She could not reach a hospital. She would bleed too much. He thought of one fix. He called it nuts. Could Granny save her? He heard her voice echo. She said he would kill them. She said he would doom their souls. He cursed again fierce. He spun the car back fast. Tires screeched loud. Granny stood waiting still. She knew they would return. She put too much in to let go. 20 minutes passed. Paul saw her house ahead. Headlights cut the dark. He jumped out wild. He yelled desperate. He asked if she healed true. He said to act now. He pulled Sarah free. Blood covered her limp. Tears welled in his eyes. He could not hold them. He pleaded for help. Granny muttered low. Paul missed her words. He caught her drift. He trailed her close. Paul said he would not leave her. He tried to fight it. Granny cut him off harsh. She said to see what his doubt caused. She asked if he still doubted her. She asked why he returned then. Paul followed her orders. He laid Sarah on the bed. He stepped outside slow. He sat in the car. He smoked his 5th cigarette down. He wiped blood off with wet wipes. He fixated on that alone. He wondered how much Sarah bled out. His mind weighed heavy. He dozed off there. He woke up freezing stiff. His body ached bad. He glanced around quick. He spotted the clock. It neared 6 in the morning. Last night rushed back vivid. He bolted into the house. He found Granny Clara. She sat still on a bench in the corner. She ignored his entry. He moved toward the room. She raised a hand swift. He froze in place. He dared not cross her. He asked if she saved Sarah. He asked if the baby lived too. She said Sarah rested now. She said to let her be. He asked what he could do next. He felt adrift. She said she felt thirsty. She called him kid. She said to fetch water. Paul poured from a jug. He handed her the glass. She drank it slow. She said he should head home. He said he could not abandon Sarah there. She said it was his only path. She said he would harm her else. She asked if he would drag her off again. She squinted at him hard. Chilled his spine cold. He said he needed to see her. He said he would go after. He said Sarah must know he was fine. Granny stared odd. She acted like he was off. Paul blamed himself deep. He thought Sarah's stress came from his dumb plan. He hated dragging her to this rotten place. Granny gave in slow. She waved him to the room. Sarah rested there. She breathed rough but lived. Paul felt huge relief wash over. He walked to the bed. He sat light on its edge. He touched her forehead soft. Her eyes cracked open faint. They drooped heavy. He said to rest easy. He called her his love. He said he stayed close. He said all was well. He said Granny kept the baby safe. He spoke it low. Sarah said she knew it. She said not to feel bad. She said she saw why he did it. She said she held no grudge. She said they pulled it off. Her eyes shut tired. She lacked strength to hold them. He asked what she meant. He sounded spooked. She said she must stay there. She said no other way worked. She asked him to get it. He said he did now. He said he would leave today. He said he would sort work out. He said he would visit weekends. He said he would bring treats. He said no shops sat near. He said her gummy bears too. He said every weekend steady. He asked if she liked that. Tears slipped from her closed eyes. She held back big sobs. She said yes soft. She called him Paul. She said to bring a new tracksuit. She said hers got messed up. She murmured low. She smiled weak. Paul kissed her light. He swore it would be fine. He left the room. Granny said to bring extra clothes next. She listed food for Sarah. Paul stepped from the house. Dawn sun painted clouds red. He felt a tad better. He skipped dark driving this way. 5 hours on, he reached their lone Denver apartment. He paced restless that night. At work, he kept to himself. He dodged folks mostly. Their nosy questions bugged him. He snapped short or rude. Worry ate him all day. He could not reach Sarah once. He grew more on edge. He vowed to race back if she stayed silent by shift's end. She rang at 6 in the evening. Paul sighed glad. She said she did Granny's tasks all day. She sipped strange brews. She slept between them. She swore to Paul she felt fine. Her voice dragged tired, sounded sluggish too. It gnawed at him. He blamed it on her rough days. Friday after work, he sped to her fast. He packed clothes and Granny's food list. He mulled things over the whole drive. Time flew by unnoticed. He parked at the usual spot. He grabbed bags from the trunk. He strode to the house brisk. He entered quick. Something odd hit him. It spooked him some. Sarah stood chopping veggies in the kitchen. She stacked them in a deep bowl. She saw Paul and froze. She asked who he was. It lasted 2 seconds flat. Paul knew that blank stare. Then she clicked back. She beamed wide. She dropped the knife safe. She hugged him tight and warm. Paul let the bags hit the floor. He hugged Sarah close. He said he missed her low. She did not echo it. She asked if he felt hungry instead. From then, Paul saw Sarah shift. It went bad slow. She forgot stuff often. She showed no spark. He pulled up old pics of them. She stared long at each. She could not place when they happened. It grew worse daily. Next weekend, he visited her. He gasped at her look. Her skin turned way paler. She once had a tan glow. She shed weight clear. She slouched a bit now. She did not seem a healthy pregnant wife. She claimed all was good on calls. She did not know him this time. She said hi polite. She asked if he came for Granny Clara. She droned it flat. Paul asked what broke in her. He said he was her husband loud. He asked what Granny fed her. He flared up mad. She said oh right. She said husband dull. She never used Paul before. She stuck to pee always. His mind snapped sharp. He stormed room to room wild. Granny hid somewhere. He hit the hall fast. Then he checked the yard. Granny Clara raked dead leaves out there. She worked under little apple and cherry trees. Paul saw her and charged. He wanted to throttle her bad. He asked what she did to Sarah. He said she looked doped up. He said she forgot him. Granny stayed cool. She leaned on her rake. She asked what she did. It fired Paul up more. Paul asked if she dosed Sarah daily with that junk. He said it tore his guts out fierce. Granny said no baby came without it. Paul asked what baby loud. He pleaded hard. He said Sarah looked ill clear. Granny said she held up okay now. She said they all start decent. She said they shift over time. She said it varies each one. Paul asked who shifts. Anger burned hot in him. She said dead folks. She said dead differ from living plain. Paul asked what nonsense she spoke. He called her witch mad. He said she would hit jail. He said she would rot there old. He said he would not drop it. He spun to the house. She said he could not snag Sarah. She said Sarah lived only there. She said the baby birthed only there. She said if he took her again, she could not fix it. Paul said her help went far enough. He stepped in. Fear froze him stiff. Granny stood ahead now. He checked back. She vanished from the yard. She said he could not take her again. She said Sarah belonged to her now. Paul yelled for her to scram. He shoved her aside hard. She latched his arm tight. Pain choked him quick. She said Sarah died already. She said the baby lived on. She said Paul killed her taking her off. She said he snapped a sacred tie. She said she would save the baby. She told him to deal with it. She said Sarah fit there with others. She said only he breathed alive. She said fighting kept him there forever. She said calming proved her words. Paul stood inside now. He could not swallow her tale. He felt Sarah's pulse at her neck. He tried her wrist next. Her skin chilled like ice. He pressed his ear to her chest. He strained to hear a beat. None came through. He sobbed loud like a child again. He saw her eyes true now. They moved slow and blank. A misty film crept in faint. She stood but felt miles off. It was not Sarah no more. Just her shell stayed. Granny spoke right. He asked how she carried a kid. He could not say dead aloud. Granny said her soul fled her frame. She said the baby took no soul. She said it fed off her body to grow. Paul said that could not hold. She said this place made it real. She said it stood special. She said dead bore living here. She said live souls cost high. He asked what came for Sarah after birth. Granny said she might fade more. She grinned slight. Paul thought the light played tricks. He asked if the kid went to him. She said no firm. She said she would block that. He roared no through wet eyes. She said he would die then. She said choices ran thin. She said he could head home. She said to ditch it like a dream. He said never ever. He asked what if he left her put. His mind raced hot and wild. Each thought stung sharp. He thought she fibbed on choice. He saw no way out. He grabbed a pan off the stove. Food spilled messy. It splashed brown on the planks. Paul swung the pan fierce. He aimed square at Granny's head. It would have smashed hard. His arm went soft last tick. The pan slipped free from his grip. Something unseen choked his neck tight. Air left him fast. He heard Granny's scrape voice last. She said all stayed here sure. She said each had a cause to die. Then dark took him whole. The sleeper's echo. I find a photo on my phone of me sleeping. Problem is, I live alone. It's 3 in the morning, and I'm sitting on my sagging couch, thumbing through my gallery, half drunk on cheap beer. There I am, sprawled across my bed, mouth open, drooling like an idiot. The angle's odd, too high, like someone held the camera above me. I laugh it off at first. Nice one, Nick, I mutter, figuring I set a timer or something. But I don't own a tripod, and my arms aren't that long. The timestamp says 2 hours ago. I was out cold then. My stomach twists. I swipe back. Nothing else weird. Just truck stop selfies and a blurry shot of a deer I almost hit last week. I lock the device, toss it on the coffee table, and lean back. The trailer's quiet. Just the hum of the fridge and the wind rattling the loose siding. I tell myself it's nothing. Maybe I'm losing it. Long hauls will do that to you. But then I hear a faint click, like a shutter snapping. My head jerks to the phone. The screen's still dark. I grab it, hands shaky, and check the gallery again. No new pics. You're fine, man. I say out loud, voice cracking. The words hang there, too loud in the stillness. I don't sleep that night. Something's watching, and it knows where I am. I'm brushing my teeth next morning, still rattled from that photo, when I hear footsteps. Not outside on the gravel path by my trailer, but inside, right behind me. I freeze, toothpaste dripping down my chin, staring into the bathroom mirror. Nothing's there. Just my tired, bloodshot eyes and a face that's seen too many miles. The steps stop. I spit, rinse, and turn around fast, expecting, well, I don't know what. The hallway's empty. My heart's hammering, though. Get a grip, Nick, I growl, stomping to the kitchen for coffee. That's when it hits me. I'm not alone. Not in some horror flick way, but like the air's got weight pressing on my shoulders. I pour coffee, sloshing half on the counter, and laugh, harsh and bitter. What's next, ghost? Then it twists. My phone buzzes. I grab it, expecting a text from dispatch. Instead, it's a video 2 seconds long already in my gallery. It's me just now pouring coffee, filmed from behind. My voice, that dumb laugh, echoes tinny through the speaker. I drop the mug. It shatters, brown sludge pooling around my boots. I didn't record that. I spin around, scanning the trailer. Sunlight streams through the blinds, dust floating lazy in the beams. No one's here, but those steps start again, slow, deliberate, pacing the living room. I grab a kitchen knife, feeling stupid but scared shitless. Who's there? I yell. No answer. Just the steps, circling now like whatever it is knows I'm trapped. And my phone buzzes again. I don't check the phone this time. I can't. My hands shake too much, and that knife feels useless against whatever's pacing out there. The steps stop. I hold my breath, listening. Then I hear my voice. Who's there? It says. Same tone. Same crack I felt in my throat when I shouted it. But I didn't say it again. I stumble back, hitting the counter. The knife clatters to the floor. The voice drifts from the living room, low and rough, like a bad recording of me. I edge toward the doorway, peering out. Nothing. Just my beat-up recliner and a stack of unopened bills. But the air feels wrong, thick, like it's holding something I can't see. I grab my keys, thinking I'll bolt to the truck and get out. Then my phone lights up on its own, screen glowing blue in the dim kitchen. I don't touch it, but the gallery opens. Another photo shows me standing right where I am now, looking at the device. My chest tightens. This isn't happening, I whisper. And then, from the living room, that whisper returns. This isn't happening. It's me, but not me, flatter, colder, like it's mocking. I lunge for the door, but the lock sticks. I yank harder, swearing. Behind me, I hear my own curse spat back in that dead tone. Whatever's here copies me, and it's closing in. I finally get the door open and stumble outside, gulping cold morning air. The trailer parks quiet, too quiet, like the world holds its breath with me. I don't look back. I sprint to my truck and lock myself in. Safe, I think, hands gripping the wheel. I start the engine. The rumble steadies my nerves, but then the cab goes dark. Not dim, pitch black, like someone flipped a switch on the sun. I fumble for the headlights. They flicker, then die. My breath fogs up, sharp and fast, in air that's suddenly freezing. Then the whispering starts. Not words, just a low hiss, curling around me like smoke. It's in the cab, behind my seat, brushing my neck. I twist around. Nothing. Just shadows that shift when I blink. Leave me alone, I shout. My voice bounces off the glass. The hiss stops. Silence. Then, soft as a sigh, it comes back. Leave me alone. My words, my panic, thrown back at me. I slam the gas, peeling out of the lot, tires screaming. The darkness lifts as I hit the highway. Sunlight blinds me. I laugh, ragged but relieved, until I glance at the passenger seat. My phone's there. I didn't bring it. I'm at a truck stop 50 miles out, parked under buzzing sodium lights, trying to calm down with a shitty coffee. The phone sits on the seat, screen dark. I don't touch it. My head spins from lack of sleep and fear. I splash water on my face in the grimy bathroom, avoiding the cracked mirror. But I can't help it. I look up. My reflection's there, haggard, unshaven. Normal. I exhale, leaning on the sink. Then it moves. Not me, my reflection. Tilts its head slow while I stand still as stone. I stumble back. My heart's in my throat. The thing in the glass smirks, my smirk, but wrong. Like it knows something I don't. What the hell are you? I rasp. The reflection mouths it back, silent, lips curling wider. I bolt, slamming the door behind me, and collapse into a booth. A waitress, Marcy, her tag says, ambles over. You okay, Han? She asks, chewing gum. I nod, forcing a grin. Just tired. She shrugs and walks off. I sip my coffee, hands unsteady, and risk a glance at the window. My reflection's there again, staring from the glass. It's not smiling now. It just watches, eyes too wide, too still. Marcy passes by, humming. Her reflection's normal. Mine isn't. My phone buzzes in my pocket. I didn't put it there. I yank the phone out, hands slick with sweat. The screen's already on, gallery open. A new video loads, showing me sitting in this booth, staring at the window. It's time-stamped now. I'm on camera, live, but no one holds a device. I whip around, scanning the diner. Just Marcy wiping counters. A trucker snoring over his eggs. No one watches. The video keeps rolling. My panicked face fills the screen. Then it shifts. My reflection's there, not me, leaning closer, mouth moving. I can't hear it, but I feel it. A buzz in my skull. You can't run. I smash the power button. Nothing happens. The screen stays lit. That thing's face presses against the glass now, distorting. I hurl the phone across the booth. It lands, skitters, and stops, still glowing. Marcy glances over. You sure you're okay? She calls. Fine. I snap too loud. She frowns but leaves it. I'm not fine. I'm losing it. The phone vibrates, inching toward me like an insect. I grab it, ready to smash it, when it rings. Unknown number. I answer, shaking. What do you want? I hiss. Silence. Then my voice, flat and cold, replies. What do you want? I drop it like it burns. The line's still open. My breathing echoes back through the speaker, faster, harsher, until it's not mine anymore. It's deeper, hungrier. Marcy's humming stops. I look up. She stares at me, head cocked, same tilt as the reflection. Need anything else, hon? She says. But her voice, it's mine. The phone cuts off. She smiles. I don't. I'm back in the truck, flooring it down a 2-lane highway. Trees blur past like skeletal hands. The diner's 10 miles behind me, but my skin still crawls. Marcy's voice, my voice, replays in my head. I crank the radio. Static blasts, anything to drown it out. The phone's in my lap, dark now, but I don't trust it. I should have left it. Too late. The road's empty. Fog rolls in thick, swallowing the headlights. I'm alone, where I should be. A shadow darts across the lane, tall, human-shaped, gone in a blink. I swerve, cursing. Tires screech. Nothing's there. My pulse pounds in my ears. Then the radio cuts out. Silence. A hum starts low like a throat warming up. Nick, it says, my tone, my drawl. I slam the off button. Keeps going. Nick, slow down. I don't. The fog thickens. I see it again. Something in the road, standing still. I hit the brakes, skidding. It's me. My face, my jacket, staring back, unblinking. I freeze, hands locked on the wheel. It doesn't move. Then it's gone. Fog swirls where it stood. The radio crackles. You can't outrun yourself. My laugh's shaky, borderline hysterical. Watch me, I mutter, gunning the engine. The shadows back in the rearview, closer now, matching my speed. My phone lights up. Another photo shows me driving, eyes on the mirror, taken from behind. Right now, I pull over. The engine idles. Fog presses against the windows like it tries to get in. My head's a mess. Photos, voices, that thing in the road. I dig through my brain, searching for anything to make sense of it. Then it hits me, a memory I buried deep. I was 8, maybe 9, alone in my room. I woke up to a noise, my own voice giggling from under the bed. I screamed for Mom. She checked, found nothing. She said I dreamed it. I believed her. Until now, that giggle echoes in my skull, sharp and wrong. I rub my face, muttering, this isn't real, but it feels real, too real. The cab's cold. My breath fogs up. I glance at the phone. It's off, but I swear it watches. That kid's laugh. Was it me or something else? Something waiting? The fog shifts outside. I see handprints on the windshield, small, like a child's. Not mine. I didn't touch the glass. My chest tightens. What are you? I whisper. The phone buzzes once, short and sharp. I don't look. I don't need to. Whatever's out there has been with me longer than I thought. I step out of the truck. Boots crunch on gravel. Fog curls around my legs like it's alive. Those handprints still smear the windshield. too small to be mine. I circle the rig. My breath hitches. The ground's soft from last night's rain. There they are, footprints, bare feet, kid-sized, leading from the passenger door into the trees. My stomach drops. I didn't hear anything climb in. I grab a flashlight from the cab. The beam slices through the haze. This is stupid, I mutter, but I follow them anyway. The tracks weave between pines. Mud sucks at my boots. The air's heavy, smelling of wet earth and something sour I can't place. The prints stop at a clearing, empty, just a ring of stones. No kid, no nothing. I sweep the light around. My heart thuds. Then I see it. My own boot prints circle back from the trees. I didn't walk that way. What the fuck? I breathe. The flashlight flickers, dies. Darkness swallows me. I hear soft, wet steps circling the stones. Not mine. I bolt, tripping over roots, back to the truck. The cab's empty. The door's still open. My phone's on the seat, screen glowing. A new pic shows me in the clearing, staring at the camera. Behind me, a shadow, small, hunched, smiling. I didn't see it then. I feel it now. I'm driving again, hands white-knuckled, refusing to look at the phone. The fog's gone. Stars pierce the sky, but it doesn't feel right. Too still. The radio's dead. The cab's silent except for my ragged breathing. Then it starts, a hum, low and familiar, from the passenger side. I don't look. I won't. Nick, it says, my voice, but slower, like it savors the word. Pull over. I grit my teeth, pushing 80 now. Asphalt hums under the tires. Nick, it says again, closer. Breath brushes my ear. I snap. Shut up. I yell, slamming the dashboard. Silence falls. Then a laugh, mine, but twisted, like it rises from underwater. Shut up, it mimics gleeful. I glance at the mirror. Nothing. Just me, wild-eyed, sweat-soaked. The phone buzzes, ignored. You're tired, Nick, the voice says, soft now, almost kind. Rest. My eyelids droop, heavy as hell. I shake it off, swerving. I'm not sleeping, I growl. I'm not sleeping. It echoes, mocking, from the back of the cab now. I crank the window. Cold air slaps my face. The voice shifts outside, keeping pace. Look at me, it whispers. I do, stupidly. The roadside's empty, but the mirror catches it. Me, standing in the ditch, staring up, unblinking. The truck lurches. I scream, wrenching the wheel. The figure's gone when I look again, but the voice lingers, a hiss in my skull. I'm not done. The phone's screen flares. Another video shows me yelling, swerving, filmed from the empty seat beside me. My laugh, its laugh, plays over the roar of the engine. I can't keep driving forever. I'm shaking, wired on adrenaline, but I've got an idea. If this thing copies me, maybe I can trick it. I pull into a rest stop, deserted except for a flickering vending machine. The phone's still glowing, but I leave it in the cab. I grab a tire iron, feeling dumb but desperate, and head to the bathroom. Come on, you bastard, I mutter, splashing water on my face. I wait, listening. Nothing. Then the sink drips, my rhythm, my speed. I smirk. Gotcha. I swing the iron at the mirror. Glass shatters. I hear it. A gasp. Mine. From the stall behind me. I spin, iron raised. It's empty, but the air shifts, heavy, pissed off. You don't like that, huh? I say. My voice stays steady now. I smash the light next. The room plunges into black. A growl, not mine, rumbles low. I back out. My heart pounds. I sprint to the truck. The cab's dark. The phone's off. I laugh, real this time. Screw you, I say, starting the engine. Then the headlights snap on, catching it, me standing 10 feet ahead, head tilted, glass shards glinting in my hands. It swings, mimicking my move. The windshield cracks. I floor it, aiming straight. It doesn't move. I brace for impact. Nothing. Just fog and a tire iron on the passenger seat. Mine's gone. The phone buzzes. I'm done running. I stop the truck on a back road. The engine ticks as it cools. The phone's got a new pic. Me standing outside, staring at the cab. I look out. Nothing. Yet, I step into the night. Air's sharp with pine and damp earth. All right, I call. My voice sounds raw. Show yourself. Silence stretches. Then a rustle. I turn. There I am, me but not. Same jacket, same stubble. But the eyes, flat, black, like oil slicks. It doesn't speak, just watches, head cocked. I step closer. My fists clench. What are you? It mimics my step, my stance, but stays silent. My chest burns. Anger, fear, exhaustion. Say something. I shout. It opens its mouth. My voice spills out layered, wrong. Say something. I lunge, swinging. My fist passes through, hitting air. I stumble. It's behind me now, closer, breathing my breath. I spin, but it's always a step ahead, circling. You're me, I whisper. Realization sinks in. It grins, my grin, stretched too wide. You're me, it echoes. The voice splinters into a child's giggle. The phone in the cab lights up, screen flashing. I don't need to check. I know what's there, us, together, right now. And it's not done playing. I can't fight it like this. It's me, some warped piece I can't shake. I climb back into the cab. My hands tremble. I grab the phone. The pic's still there, me and it side by side. I swipe to the video from the diner, watching my reflection mouth words. You can't run, it said. Maybe I don't have to. Maybe I give it what it wants. I drive to a bridge. The river churns black below. The thing's quiet now, no echoes, no steps. Waiting. I hold the phone, whispering, You want me? Take me. I toss it out the window, watching it tumble into the water. The cab's still. Air lightens. I laugh, shaky but real. That's it, huh? No answer. I lean back. My eyes close. Peace for once. Then the engine sputters, dies. My laugh cuts off. The rear view shifts. Me in the back seat, smiling. Not the oil-eyed thing, just me, normal. Too normal. You didn't think it'd be that easy, it says. My voice, my calm. I twist around. It's empty, but the wheel turns on its own. The truck rolls toward the edge. I grab it, fighting, but it's stronger. The bridge rail looms. You're mine, it whispers, from inside my skull now. I scream as we plunge. Water rushes up. Darkness takes me, and then a giggle. I wake up, coughing, soaked to the bone. The truck's gone. The riverbank's muddy under my boots. I'm alive. Fog's thick. Dawn barely cuts through, but the air feels clean. No weight, no whispers. I pat my pockets. The phone's missing. Good riddance. I stumble along the bank, shivering, grinning like an idiot. I beat you, I rasp. My voice is mine alone. Birds chirp, faint but real. I'm free. I hitch a ride back to the trailer park. Some old guy in a pickup doesn't ask questions. My place looks the same, sagging, lonely. I collapse on the couch, too tired to care about the mess. Sleep comes fast, dreamless. Hours later, I wake to sunlight. My stomach growls. Normal. I brew coffee, humming off-key. It doesn't echo back. Screw you, I mutter, toasting the empty room. Life's mine again. Night falls. I'm good, better than good. I flip on the TV, some dumb reality show, and lean back. Then the remote clicks. The channel changes on its own. Static fills the screen. Then me, my face, staring out, unblinking. Nick, it says soft, from the speakers. I freeze. The coffee mug slips, shattering. Miss me? It asks. My drawl, my smirk. The lights flicker, die. Darkness floods in. I hear it, my hum, my steps circling the trailer. Not gone. Never gone. I bolt for the door, but it locks itself. The TV glows. My face is still there, closer now. You can't run, it says. I feel it behind me, breathing. I don't scream this time. I'm too damn tired. The trailer's dark. The TV casts a sickly blue glow. My face on the screen tilts its head, mirroring me as I slump against the door. What do you want? Ask. My voice stays flat. It doesn't answer, just watches. Eyes glint like wet stone. The air's heavy again, pressing me down. I laugh, bitter and cracked. You're me, right? Then what's the point? The screen flickers. It's gone. Silence. Then a whisper. Not from the TV, but inside my head. You! My chest tightens. I stumble to the bathroom, splash water on my face, avoiding the mirror. Too late. It's there, me, but not grinning wide, teeth too sharp. You, it says again. My voice splinters into that kid's giggle. I smash the glass. Shards bite my knuckles. The whisper doesn't stop. I stagger outside. Stars shine cold overhead. The trailer park's empty. Fog creeps back. My truck's there, parked like I never left. I climb in. My hands bleed. I start it. The engine roars, steady. I drive, no plan, just motion. The rear view's clear, no shadows, no me. Miles pass. Then the radio hums, soft and low. Nick, it says. My tone, my calm. I don't flinch. I keep driving. Fog swallows the road. The hum fades. The wheel turns slight on its own. I let it. Where's it going? Don't know. Don't care. Maybe it's always been driving.